I felt that there was a underserved middle ground of someone who was board game curious, but not enough to Google Game Store and drive to them. And so I felt like if I can get into a Bishop Arts, I can serve that, because that's where they are. They're in Bishop Arts. They're shopping for records. They're shopping for books. And that person's like, oh, I've played some games before. It's fun. And if I can be that person to be like, here are cool games. Oh yeah, okay, cool. And like I can hit that consumer group that has historically been underserved.
Welcome to the Hidden City Podcast. I'm Grant.
And I'm Doug, and we're here to share some of the incredible stories and people from Oak Cliff that you might not know.
We're going to sit down with some of the visionaries, craftsmen, and business owners who have shaped Oak Cliff into what it is today.
Oak Cliff is on the south bank of the Trinity River, a few miles south of downtown Dallas. While technically it was part of Dallas, it was its own city for a long time, and it still has that independent spirit.
We'll dive into the history and the spirit of this place, exploring the different challenges and successes that defined it.
This is The Hidden City, a podcast about the people and the stories that make Oak Cliff extraordinary.
Welcome to this episode of the Hidden City Podcast. Today we're excited to have Stephen Callaghan on the show, who is the owner of House Rules and also a father of soon-to-be 3 kids.
3 daughters.
3 daughters.
That's awesome,
Expecting third one in August. Okay.
August.
Doug, you know a little thing about
3 kids,
this.
man.
Oh, yeah.
It's a lot. It's
Yes.
awesome, though.
It is.
Yeah.
What's the biggest change for you from 2 to 3?
Oh, I feel like, okay. 1 is like just gut punch different. You're like, what is this thing? 2 is hard. 3 was kind of okay for us. Like, it was just like, you already, I don't know, you got a couple. What's
it's
another?
like the line from Hamilton where it's
Yeah.
like, we're outgunned, we're outmanned.
That's it.
We're outnumbered,
Dude,
we're
that's
outplanned.
it. Yeah, dude, that's how it
Yeah.
feels. And so you're just like, all right, we're all in this. We're
Yeah.
figuring it out.
Yeah.
But it's awesome, man. It's a big old family.
Yeah, we're
so
excited.
Well,
yeah, that's great.
That's great to hear. Well, let's jump into House Rules. And let's start with board games. Where did your love of board games
Good. It's a great
come
place
about?
to start. That's, I think, probably square number 1. I grew up playing family games, just like we all did as a kid, and I grew up with 3 sisters. And so when we were kids, we would play. I'm sure you guys are brothers, so you know.
We're brothers.
You
We're brothers.
know. We'd try and play, and I'm the oldest brother with younger sisters, so sometimes we'd go out in the backyard and we'd play basketball.
Yeah.
I'm tall.
Yes.
And older. And so I would just kind of like win.
Absolutely
And-
dominate.
dominate.
Yeah,
everything.
that's just like not fun. And so board games, this is sort of me reflecting on the experience.
Yeah.
And I definitely was not conscious of this as like a 10-year-old.
Yeah.
But playing board games as a family with younger siblings, especially in our sort of dynamic, was really meaningful to even the playing field. We're all just one player.
Yeah.
Player 1, player 2, player
Yeah.
3, with the same pieces on the same board.
That's
so to speak.
cool.
So yeah, I grew up playing, and this is me, of course, romanticizing
Of
board
course,
games
yeah,
you
yeah.
know, in reflection, but that's true. And then I grew up really playing video games primarily as a teenager and in college. And then in college, I had a friend who was really into board games. And I sound like I was joining a cult, to be honest. It's like, and he pulled me in. He
There
said,
you go.
You
come
in.
over, let me talk to you about it. And I said, oh, okay, yeah, sure, yeah. What's this all about? And we had a great time. And I was like, man, that was really fun.
This is down in College Station?
It was back home, but
Back
yeah,
home,
it was
okay,
at the time. It was
okay.
through A&M friends.
okay.
Yeah, and he was just like, I have all these cool board games. And I had never, like probably so many people, had never even considered that new games might have come out or been made.
Yeah.
There's
yeah,
only
it's-
these 10 games
Yep.
Right.
that have ever been made,
Yeah.
and those are the games that we have. But that's not true. There's lots of games. There's about 5,000 new games that come out every year, by the way.
5,000 a year?
Wow, that's
Too many.
amazing.
Whoa.
Okay, too many.
It's
Okay.
frankly, way too many. We need
Okay.
to cool it as an industry.
We need some quality control, maybe. Is that
just a little bit? But yeah, so I just got into it, and then we just kept doing board game nights. It was like, hey, we should do that again. That was really fun. Yeah, let's do it again. Are you having fun? Are you having fun?
Yeah.
I'm having fun. Let's do it again.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we just kept doing it, and then
awesome.
slowly, I became the friend who was really into
Bring it
board
over.
games, and I was like, you should come over, and I'm going to show you all these cool board games, you know. And that's what I was doing, and then we I'm going to segue this into how I opened the shop.
Yeah,
great.
please
Go.
do.
Yeah.
Okay. So from there, I just got more and more, and it never stopped. I'm very I can get really hyperfixated on a hobby or an interest.
Yeah.
And do it really intense for like, let's say a year and then drop it. And board games just never stopped.
Nice.
I think it's because board games is sort of an abstraction, and it's actually like one discrete game at a time. And so there's always a new game for me to be like, what is this? And oh my gosh, and I can hyperfixate on the game itself. And then when I'm done with it, I go to the new one.
It's almost like a field, or like, hey, here's this like study, and then all these that you can get into.
Yeah, it's a very wide field, right? And so for whatever, that's me just guessing at why, but it never stopped. I just continued and growing in interest. And then I was like, man, I gotta do something with this. Like, I gotta do something. What is it? And you guys don't know this, I'm laughing, but every board game hobbyist wants to open a board game.
Is this just like
a board game cafe or board game bar?
Okay.
Because like they want to have like a cool clubhouse, so they get to go to the bar and like we have coffee and beer and let's play board games and hang out. Like that's every hobbyist dreams of doing that, and I was no different. And I was like, man, that would be so cool. We should do that. I don't know the first thing about food and beverage.
Yeah.
I had never, not even approached the field.
Right.
And so, and it takes a lot of money to do that.
Turns out,
And that's why there aren't board game cafes on every corner of the city, even though there's plenty of people who would do it. Yeah. So I said, okay, we explored that softly for a while, and that didn't pan out for the reasons I stated. And I was like, well, let's just like, maybe I could just open a shop. Mm-hmm. Like, I could figure out retail, and like, I'll do that. And this was about the same time my wife and I moved to Oak Cliff in 2019. We got married and bought a house here.
Nice.
And we were patronizing Bishop Arts more and more. And I was like, man, this is the perfect spot for a board game shop. Yeah. Like, we got a record shop. We got a bookshop. We had a comic shop at the time, which has since closed. But it was like the one thing we don't have is board games.
Yeah.
And I need to be there, or D&D and cards as well. And so I was like, this is so perfect. And I live here, and I've got the expertise. I know all about this product. Like, I can be the one to do it. And so then COVID hit in 2020, and I did a little... soul searching is way too dramatic.
But like, we were all soul searching during COVID.
So it wasn't even that. I had
more like it.
Soul crime.
Yes, a soul like a soft looking, like like that. Not searching.
Okay.
Anyway, so I had a good gig going. It wasn't that bad, but I just kind of think during COVID, I kind of was like, I don't really want to do this forever. I don't think. And so, what does it really look like to really be doing this? And then my wife and I started kind of planning and like, how do we figure this out? We didn't have kids at the time, so it was like, what's your job, my job, hours, etc. As you know, opening a small business is it takes
hours, many hours.
Many
takes some off your life.
Many hours. And so we just kind of started figuring it out. And then I started calling landlords. And where it's like, what shop's coming up? What could I do? Finally landed one, and
find a space. That's
awesome.
Now
I run a board game store.
So with board games, you were saying one of the attractions was like, hey, there's record shops, there's all these different kind of like analog stuff going on. Is there a resurgence of sorts with like board games, or more of these tactile kind of things versus the digital world of sorts? Okay, that's my understanding.
We've seen an increase in sales in books, records, and board games over the last 10 years.
Yeah.
That has been a really steady trend, and then COVID spiked it a lot.
Oh, really?
A lot.
Oh, yeah.
So I don't want to speak too confidently about records and books. I know in board games the sales went way. Everyone's at home, and for similar reasons. I need something to do at home.
And I can only look at my screen much.
Right, exactly. No, I'm working from home, and when I'm off work, it used to be that I'd go look at my screen to wind down because I was at work, but I was looking at my screen during work, so I don't want to keep doing that in the same chair at the same screen. And so you want a book to read, you want a board game to play, you want a record to listen to. There's other things that like adult coloring books. You guys remember that?
Yes.
Coloring books popped off.
Those were so cool.
That was like that's sort of a cottage thing, but it's one of those things. But records, books, and board games in my mind are like sort of the big three. They're very similar. Sure. It's kind of like a triangle of like analog hobby interests. And so all three were experiencing growth over the last decade, and then COVID just went like punched it.
Even higher.
Yeah.
That's so
it's cool.
fascinating.
It was a spike. It wasn't
it was a noticeable
to the moon, but it was a huge spike, and it's come down sort of back to where it was before.
Okay.
But there's been a huge resurgence.
That's awesome.
I wonder how much of that is also nostalgia, because our age group probably was one of the maybe not last generations. That's so dramatic.
In the analog,
we were in the kind of pre-internet. We played board games. It's kind of what we did. Yeah. I mean, you were mentioning. As a kid, I remember sitting on Mary's porch playing Guess Who with Amy. We would play every day after school for years, and we'd play Candyland. Those were the two games that were just burned into my memory. It was so fun.
Yeah.
Guess who? That's right.
And then
Yeah.
you had so much fun, and then you just for some reason stopped.
And then it stopped.
Well, then,
For
we got all iPhones. And
yeah.
they're like,
well,
we'll
I
do it.
didn't. No,
just-
not our age group.
Oh, I
no,
know,
we didn't
I
get
know,
a.
I know.
I didn't
No,
get a
it's just like
smartphone
there
until
was
way
a
older.
point where it stopped.
Yeah.
Video games for sure.
Yeah.
I watched you play.
Yeah. Countless hours
Rayman
of
and
Spyro and
yeah.
Rayman. Yeah.
But
Me too.
We got
yeah,
some Zelda
I don't know.
in there.
It's an interesting kind of phenomenon.
Well,
I guess.
There's a couple reasons for it. I think. I mean, let's just
go,
Let's
yeah.
just guess.
Just
I
guess.
mean,
I
let's
love
just start
guesses.
guessing.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess you guys. I am the industry person, so
There you go.
I
Tell
shouldn't
us.
be
Yeah.
guessing.
You could take an educated guess.
Yeah, I'm just reflecting on my own experience. I had a great time growing up playing video games together, like as
Yes.
remember couch co-op. Right, we had couch co-op.
Mm-hmm.
Video game design nowadays really doesn't do that anymore.
Man.
There are some exceptions, but as a rule, there's not really games designed to be couch co-oped. Yes, and so
100%,
the
yeah.
experience of that, going over to your friend's house and like 5 of us are all playing Halo, that's the experience. It's not. It wasn't about. It is about Halo. Halo's amazing, obviously,
Yeah,
but like
yeah.
it was more to me. It was more about me and the boys.
Yeah.
We're all together. We're crushing snacks, and we're all talking about the game we're playing together.
That's
Even when you
really
weren't
good,
playing,
yeah.
you were participating. I was watching what you were doing,
Yeah.
and I was saying, "Oh my god, get him!" Oh, and I'm like
Yeah.
calling for you,
Yeah. Yeah.
and we're talking to each other
Yeah.
about the experience. And I want to quickly, parenthetically, parallel this to golf. Do you guys golf?
I love golf, yeah.
Think about your experience playing golf. When you play golf, you play in parallel. You don't actually interact with the other players, right?
Yeah.
You're playing
Yeah.
your own game.
Yeah.
On the same course at the same time. And I think the appeal of a golf is the exact same. We are playing golf, and I can talk to you about, hey, this course and that hill and that slope and this club.
Yep.
And we get to bond over this experience that we're doing together.
Right.
But ultimately, we are competing, but
It's
not
individual. Yeah,
it's
yeah,
individual,
yeah, yeah,
and
yeah.
so it's not a hostile competition. Some board games can be that way, obviously, and some people relish that.
Yeah.
Obviously, but. I see the appeal, especially we're in such a golf city. Like so many people love golf, and that experience is what couch co-ops did when we were kids, and video games lost that. And obviously, lots of our age group is playing golf now. and I wonder why.
Golf has become the
Golf has
replacement.
become it's a co-op.
Yeah.
Basically.
No,
right?
that's
and board games
fascinating.
can do that.
This episode and every episode of the Hidden City podcast is brought to you by Waxspace. Waxspace is known as a co-working space in the neighborhood, but did you know that we also are open to rent to the public for private events? Every weekend we're hosting baby showers, wedding showers, birthday parties, and anniversary celebrations. If you're interested in hosting your private event at Waxspace, you can reach out to our events manager, Savannah, and that email address is hey@thewaxspace.com. That's HEY@thewaxspace.com to get more information and a custom quote for your event here at Waxspace.
I was just talking to my wife about, I mean, some of this is interesting. I'm hearing like parenting wise, we'll talk parent stuff for a second, but
okay.
like TV, like it's like you don't, for us, we were kind of talking about it not being individualized. Like we love that it's in the living room and it can be like all of us watching it together. Or I think where it can get problematic is when it becomes so individualized. And I hear that even with games on some of that stuff too, where it's like video game, it is designed in a way right now where it is like, all right, I'm plugged in. I'm only like, it's not a social thing. And so how do we make moments that are a little bit more social
Yes.
in nature for the kids but also for the family? And
Yeah,
that's
but
kind of,
you want to bond. You want to have
Yeah.
that shared memory
Yeah.
of like, you remember when we played Guess Who together.
Yeah,
If
yeah.
you were playing Guess Who and you were playing Candyland and you never intersected, you wouldn't have a shared memory.
Exactly.
And so
No,
just
I
playing
think
it
that's
by
like
each other.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's-
half of the memory at least. It's like,
Right.
oh, we were
It's like,
together
and then,
doing this.
Oh, and you did that thing, and then that joke that we
Yep,
developed
yep,
from those
yep,
games. You
yep.
know, that's
It's
all
connection, yeah, for
it's
sure.
connection, obviously. Yeah, I think so.
Fascinating. Yeah. I think it's the whole like kind of resurgence analog kind of thing coming back, but then also the social element, like the group play kind of stuff. I feel like it's just amazing.
Yeah.
I'm here for it. I want more of it because
Yeah.
I feel like it's becomes too individualized.
Yeah,
Of sorts. Yeah.
I agree. Obviously, I run
Obviously
a
you
store
agree. Yeah,
selling this
yeah,
product,
yeah,
so
yeah,
like
yeah,
I
yeah.
clearly think so.
Yeah.
Well, okay, so tell us, we got to rewind for a second.
Okay.
You were working another job.
Mm-hmm.
What gave you the confidence to be like, hey, I'm going to open up this shop and I'm going to go for it? Because no previous.
Can I be a little corny?
Yeah,
It was my
go for
wife.
it. Your wife?
It was my wife.
I love
Awesome.
that. That's
So
cool.
I mean, it was my wife in that she believed in me and was like, "Yeah, you should do it." But also, this is a sort of a rote, bland family planning type of thing, where it was like, I sort of referenced this earlier, but we just talked. It was like, "What's your salary?
Yeah.
What's our mortgage?" And this
yeah.
is also This is a callback to previous episodes when you guys are like, why is Oak Cliff so entrepreneurial? It's because it's affordable. Yeah. My housing costs are not that high, and I have a fixed mortgage for 30 years. I know exactly what my housing costs are going to be. And it's pretty manageable, right? And so
it gives you the ability.
I'm talking to my wife, and we're saying, what's your salary? We could probably cover our mortgage with that. And if this thing goes, I was going to say a bad word. I'm going to not say that. I'm going to say...
Good. We've gotten our explicit rating.
Yeah.
Okay.
You can say whatever you want.
Well, if this thing goes to the wayside...
How's there we go. To the wayside.
If this thing falls into the dirt face first, and I don't make a dime, and we even maybe lose a little money, we fail. You know, the small business, that's just what you have to talk about.
Yeah.
We would be okay.
Yeah.
And so that sort of fallback, that emergency planning of like knowing we'll be okay is a huge... part of why I did it. And I don't think I would have done it without knowing like we'll be all right. I would have taken the stability of my previous job. Like it was fine. I didn't hate it. Like, you know. It's fine. I'll stay here. I'll do my thing. And like maybe later. Maybe I'll do a little thing later. But just talking with my wife and just doing some family planning. Like we want kids in X amount of time, and we didn't have kids at the time, as I said. And so it was like if we don't do this like right now, we're not doing it until you're retired.
Right.
Probably.
No, there's a real
and so that also gave me some urgency of like, I think you're right, and I think that's true. And so we got to get this show on the road. And so I knew I was covered, and I felt confident in myself of like, I spent literally every waking minute basically of my life watching YouTube videos about board games, listening to podcasts about board games, like playing board games. When I'm not playing board games, I'm thinking about board games. And also just I should have said this at the top. When I say board games, I mean just any tabletop game.
Right.
Sometimes people think board games, it used to be in our industry we tried to say board games and card games because they don't have boards. So it feels a little silly to say it's a board game. Like it's fine. I mean all card games. Yeah. I'm trying to say tabletop games because that also includes like Dungeons and Dragons as well. Role-playing games.
Yeah, there's so many categories.
There's lots of categories, sure. And I don't want. I mean all of it.
Yeah.
So,
makes
anyways,
sense.
so I felt confident in myself in that I have so much an obscene amount of product knowledge about this stuff, and I was in sales and I can sell, so I'm like, I'll sell this stuff. And what I found, this is a funny little story. Early days, we were doing board game nights at breweries before we opened the shop, just as sort of a proof of concept. Right. We were selling it to breweries like trivia night. Like you would pay us to come and we'd host board game night at the brewery. And so so many times I would explain these games to people so passionately. I'm like, this is this game. It's amazing. Here's how to play. Yeah. And they were like, we had so much fun. Look, we just bought it on Amazon. And I was like, and at first I was like, at first I didn't care. I was like,
great.
I was like, great.
They got the game.
Yes, they got. Oh my God, look, I did it. I'm growing. I convinced somebody to buy a board game, and that's amazing. And that kept happening. They're like, we love that game so much. Look, we just bought it on Amazon. It's going to be at our door
right now.
We just bought it right now. And eventually, I started getting realized. I was like, I'm just a salesman for Jeff Bezos. Like, what am I doing? Like, this is crazy. I should be selling them this game. Yeah. And so that experience also was like, I can do this. Like, I know that I can do this.
Sell it.
I've seen it happen.
You can create passion for.
Yeah. Well, I've got it, and I just need to. When I do the thing, when I talk about board games very passionately, I just need to. At that moment, I need to be like. And also, here it is right here on the shelf.
Buy this one.
You can buy it right now. And as long as I did that, then I would be okay. So.
Oh man, that's amazing.
Well, and like you said, you have a lot of passion for it. I feel like when I first walked into House Rules, I remember you just like went off and for like 10 minutes. Oh man! But like in the best way. Like you had you were so open and welcoming and like, hey, what give me some specifics of what you're looking for and. I don't know. I haven't been in a ton of.
You're not getting that in Amazon.
Well, no,
when you're you're getting like a curation.
I don't want to. Yeah. Yes.
And even in general, though, most game shops, like I probably haven't been in a ton of them, but that was a new kind of. I wasn't expecting that. So I feel like that definitely separates the business and kind of what experience you're trying to create for people when they come in.
Yeah, I mean, being in Bishop Arts is. You get a lot of just curious people walking in. And when I first opened, I'm laughing because I used to go off on everybody all the time. And it was so unsustainable. Yeah. People would walk in. I could hear them through my window. They go, board games? What's that? And they walk in. That's great. I love that. Please walk in. Yeah. You know what I mean? And they'd be like, so what's this all about? They don't, they're just talking. They're just talking. And I'd be like,
like, here's the one for you.
And I'd be like, this and this and this and this and this. I'd give them like 10 recommendations, which is way too many, and they'd be like, "Oh, okay," and I'm just going, so they're gonna let me go. They're like, "Sure, I'm getting
take
a
your
show."
time.
Yeah. And then they'd be like, "Cool, thanks," and then walk out, and I'm like, "What am I? What am I doing? And so now I'm a little more, hopefully a little more curated in how I go off, how long I go off for.
Yeah.
I've created a rule for myself that I can only give people 3 recommendations.
Oh,
great.
that's smart.
I think you only gave me a couple.
I have to stop.
I was going to say.
And I make the same joke. I say, if I have to cut myself off, because I will recommend the whole store.
Yeah.
I really will.
That's
I curated it. So like, I think all of this is cool. So I would recommend the whole thing. So I'm going to cut myself off. And people go, ha, ha, ha. And then
there you go. You got it.
Yes. I'm sorry if it was a little too much.
It was not. It was perfect. Because,
cool.
I was looking for a gift for somebody who wanted to have everybody bring a board game as a gift. And it was super helpful. But
cool.
Yeah.
Tell us about the store. So you designed it in a certain way, or were you, I think, also maybe part of a franchise at the beginning?
Man, yeah.
Tell us how you kind of created the space.
It's a long story.
Okay, you don't have to go
into
into it.
It's fine. I mean, basically, I didn't know what I was doing, so I was like, I figured I'd like have someone who did know what they're doing show me.
Makes sense.
It didn't end up working out. Long story short, and I left like a couple months in. So we've been
Nice.
independently operated for.
It's been your thing.
Yeah, it's been my thing the whole time, pretty much. What was the first part?
Oh,
of the
design.
question?
Like
The
it's
design of the
like
space,
how
yeah.
did you kind of create the space for people? What can people expect?
On one hand, I'm going to be self-deprecating and say that it's really just a big pile of board games, which is I'm very lucky in that board game shops and other like bookshops even, when you walk into a bookshop and you see that it's like a mess and there's stacks of books everywhere, you don't think, what the hell is going on? You think,
This is awesome.
Yeah.
Oh,
100%.
yeah. What's going on?
I'm gonna
here?
find some magic
I'm gonna
here.
find some magic here.
Yeah.
This owner has no idea what he's doing. He ordered way too many books. He has nowhere to put this shit.
Not organized at all.
It's not organized. I mean, it is organized a little bit,
It is
obviously.
organized
But you
to the
like
owner.
that, and I'm very lucky because that's just my style. Anyways, I'm very fortunate that it works for like hobby shops because I was gonna do that regardless. You know what I mean? And if it didn't work, I just would have failed. I'm like, why are there stacks of board games on the floor? I'm like, there's not enough shelf space.
It's just how it is.
It's just how it is. That game is really big. I can't fit it on the shelf.
Maximalism. That's what we're doing
I'm just
here.
like, so I just put it on the floor.
Yeah.
I just left it on the floor. So like, can you see it?
Yeah.
You can see it, right?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. It's fine. So on one hand, it's really not all that thoughtfully put together, right? On the other hand, there's really small retail psychology stuff that you can plan around. For example, there's a very famous book in retail buying world. I don't know. It's called Why We Buy.
Okay.
And it's this guy, Paco Underhill, I believe is his name. And he just did all this super, like, really granular observational research on retail environments, like way back in the day. And he's still going, but he would just go into a store and he would just and he would trail people. And he'd note there, and he'd watch what signs do you look at? How long do you look at them? Where do you turn? What are you looking at? And they'd follow them, and they'd track their footprint and how it's really in depth, honestly.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
If you are at all interested in doing retail, you should read this book. It's incredible.
It sounds incredible. Yeah.
Yeah, it's amazing. And so there's something as simple as like 90% of the time when someone walks into a retail store, they turn right.
What?
A huge percentage of the time. Like more than you would expect. And in my store specifically, the door, it's such an old building, the door actually opens in, which is not supposed to, as you know.
Yeah. Right.
Right. And so it actually opens in to the right. So you have to like awkwardly like get the door out of the way to then go to the right. So I thought in my store, they'll go to the left. No. They open the door and then like kind of shuffle and like close it and then go right.
Seriously.
And so putting like the really like the best sellers, the small stuff that you know you're gonna sell out to the right. On the first shelf that you see on the right, it's Uno. It's stacks of cards, right? It's just stuff that like anybody will buy. Any person who's just curiously looking around Bishop Arts could buy.
Yeah.
So stuff like that, I've considered and organized the store in such a way as to capture and put the really insane hobbyist stuff in the way back. Because the person, normally just curious lookers will do sort of a shallow loop and they'll hit the right and then they'll kind of look and I'm not that into, okay. And then they'll do that. And whatever they were going to buy, they probably saw it, right? Yeah. And then the hobbyist who wants to like look at every spine like that, they're gonna see the whole store.
They're gonna make it
to the back corner.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like I put the crazy stuff in the back corner.
Nice.
So to that degree, it's organized.
What's the crazy stuff?
I mean, it's not
I know.
There is actually. I don't want to like be super crazy nerdy and like geeky, but
give us something.
Stuff, bro. Yeah, some crazy stuff, bro. There's a game. There's like just as a really emphatic example. There's a game called Twilight Imperium 4. Which is like, imagine Risk, right? There's territories on the map, we have units, but then there's a UN system on top. So we are also members of like the UN, and we're voting on policies that affect the board state,
Amazing.
for example. But also that means that it takes forever.
Okay.
Dude, the UN takes forever.
Takes
So
some
like
time.
we're talking a lot. Usually,
you form a government
typically there's
system.
rules for you put timers on the negotiation phase, so like you can't go forever. Like it's famously long. It's one of the highest rated games of all time. It's very famous, but also the box is like, it's a gigantic box. It costs almost $200. That's crazy. I know
Dude,
the
that
random
is
person in
crazy.
Bishop Arts does not need to see that.
They're
not ever gonna buy it. You know what I mean?
That's amazing. We were on the site earlier, and there's a couple that jumped out to us. What was it? Parks. It's like a national parks game, and then Pergola.
That's a new
Pergola.
one.
That's a new one.
That's a new one.
The Pergola
Both are new.
like garden, like kind of.
Yeah.
There's so many different. I guess I could see how you can get into government. You can get into like different like topics even within all these games.
Yeah, we kind of like to say there's a game for everything.
Yeah.
And there's not, obviously.
There's
Always another game
Yeah,
to be
yeah,
made. But there's games for a lot of things.
Yep.
And there's a little, I don't want to call it a microtrend, but a recent development in our industry over the last probably 3 to 5 years is more gardening. Let me...
Because of millennials or
No. Well, okay, yes. A little gardening itself has... This is also probably part of the analog resurgence.
Yeah.
I think gardening could be categorized into that.
Yeah.
I'm not... Gardening is like way over there to me. I'm like, plants?
You'll play Pergola.
Yeah, I'll play it. I'll do an abstraction with cardboard. But I think I want to take this way back and say that historically, the tabletop industry was very male-dominated. Okay? Way back in the day. Old head. We call them grognards.
Grognards?
Grognards.
All right.
The origin of this word is contested. It's thought to be from a French word basically meaning grumpy.
Grumpy.
Basically. But
Great,
like...
you're a
Classic.
grognard.
Basically,
Grognard.
yeah, it's like the word we say, like grumpy purist.
Okay.
Like old head grumpy purist.
Wow.
We say
Purist.
you're
Okay.
a grognard.
Okay.
Right. And so
We gotta
like
start using that term.
I
it
know.
was very male dominated. It was old wargaming stuff, D&D stuff. And even Magic the Gathering in the 90s. It was all very male dominated. And I think this is this is not pure conjecture, there is some research here, but a lot of the games ended up reflecting, it was almost like audience capture.
Yeah, makes
where
sense.
It naturally became male dominated for various reasons. But
Right.
then as new games came out, they're like, well, our audience is all men, so like we're just gonna make games for men.
Right.
And the cover is gonna be, it's gonna look like what a man wants it to look like. And
Sort
we
of
don't care.
self-propelling.
Risk.
Yeah, exactly.
Like kind of
yeah,
like
sure.
I don't
mean,
know, like
Totally.
stuff like that.
Combat, big,
Yeah,
war,
yeah. Battleship.
Chicks with armor bikinis. Like, that's just what it, you know what I mean? Like, that's just what it was.
The
And-
90s. No.
Yeah, and literally. I mean, pretty much. You should go back and see these old covers.
Okay.
I mean, it's, oof. And
Okay.
so, as that trend continued, I think there just ended up being a really natural groundswell in female gamers. Why wouldn't women want a game? Of course, everyone wants a game.
Right.
They grew up gaming just the same as we did. And so I think there was some pushback as women started getting in the hobby more and more, and they were like, wait, this is not, like, what is this?
Yeah.
You know? And I think that some of the more recent, newer themings are better reflective of the total audience.
Fascinating.
You know, for me, my wife is way more into gardening than I am. She's way more likely to buy a gardening game than I am. And that's good.
Yeah.
I want a couple, a man and a woman, to be able, to be able to walk into the store and see both of their varying interests. And maybe the same. Maybe the man's into gardening. I don't care. But like, it shouldn't all be chicks in
Shouldn't all be
chainmail
for
bikinis.
Right.
Gronards. What is it?
Grognards.
Okay.
So that's
Doug,
like
you're a gardener. You
Yeah.
can pick
that's
up
my
a
deep
copy
take.
of that.
I mean, it's probably more just like gardening is kind of cool right now.
It
and
is,
like that's
yeah,
probably
yeah.
the extent of it. But also, it is there's a game called Wingspan that got really, really famous in our industry about 5 years ago. And it was designed by a woman. It was a first-time designer, and her name is Elizabeth Hargrave, and she's now very famous in our space. And it's taken on a life of its own. It has articles in the New York Times. Like, it's sold millions of copies. Big deal. And it was like this, like, there's a woman designer. There's not a lot of women board game designers, and it was a really big deal. That like, there's this a first-time women designer made a game about birds, and you could imagine a grognard being like, a game about birds.
How can we have this?
What? You know, like I can easily imagine that. And it became, I'm sure Elizabeth did not mean for that to be the case.
Sure.
She just thought she's literally a birder, and she was like, I just like birds, and I want to design a game about birds.
Awesome.
I imagine that's probably the extent of what she thought. She's like, I'm upheaving the patriarchy. I'm sure she didn't think that, right? And she might even resent us using her as a token, maybe.
Yeah.
But it was a big change in our industry, and it was very discussed. Lots of talk about that. So there's been lots of more nature-themed games away from combat, away from just recently in our industry.
Fascinating.
Have you seen one, kind of speaking of what resonates with people, have you seen a game or set of games or type of game that resonates with people in Oak Cliff? I mean, because I feel like people visiting...
Let me call you out.
Yeah.
Who are the people of Oak Cliff?
Great point. Great point.
This is a varied neighborhood with lots of different faces. Yeah. So no, not really. I mean, on a bigger scale, we have lots of young parents.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I do get asked for a lot of kids games. For
okay.
Sure.
Okay.
4-year-old kids games, 6-year-old kids games. Parents come in.
Yeah.
I'm a young parent. You are. So we do have lots of that in the neighborhood.
Yeah.
Do we have more of that per capita than any other neighborhood? I don't know.
Yeah. Who knows?
Maybe not.
That's an interesting question. Yeah. Are there games that sell better? And maybe that's to this neighborhood, but that's also might just be because the games are popular.
It really, when we say the neighborhood, I'm in Bishop Arts,
right? Which is
really different.
That's a good distinction because there's a lot of people that come into Bishop Arts that really aren't from here. Yeah, that's a good point.
Okay, so I have to tell you guys a story because you guys will appreciate it.
Yes.
When we have people coming to the shop in Bishop Arts, there's two types of responses I get to asking people, hey, do you live around here? Because I get to talking to people, and I always do that because your question about do people from Oak Cliff buy certain things?
Yeah.
So I go, and I'm always talking to people. We get a lot of tourists too, so it's always like, oh, where are you in from, etc. So two types of people respond to this. On the weekends, I say, hey, you live around here? And people go, yeah, I do. And I'm like, great, where at? And they go, Frisco. and I laugh almost in their face, and I'm like, oh, okay, sure. And they're coming down for the weekend at Bishop Arts. But then also, I get a different type of person in the exact opposite response. I go, hey, do you live around here? They go, no. I'm like, oh, really? Where are you from? And they go, South Oak Cliff. And I'm like, that's around here. What are you doing? That's a 5-minute drive. What are you talking about? Oh, I guess I am local. But they're like, no, I'm not from Bishop Arts. Don't say that. Don't put that on me.
That's so
don't put that on me.
Yeah.
Anyway, but being a Bishop Arts, to get back to your original question, compared to other game stores, I sell more like Uno.
Yeah. Okay.
Decks of cards. Like a normal game shop is not where I am.
Yeah.
They're normally in like a little strip center off of a highway.
Right.
Because traditionally, game stores have play space. If you've ever been to a game store, big play space. That's like the normal model. It's what it's always been for years. And so to have, let's say, 5,000 square feet of play space
in Bishop Arts.
Well, you can't. It doesn't even exist. If you wanted it, even if you could pay it, it doesn't exist. And so to have that retail square footage and play space square footage, you need to have a really big space, and you need it to be affordable. So typically, game stores are relegated to those types of areas, or that little. There's several in Dallas that I'm thinking of that are like literally and basically little commercial strip centers off of highways, which is fine. But also let me just pat myself on the back a little.
Let's go.
I thought, I was a consumer of these game stores before, but also I sort of understood that you're not going to find it. Many people are not going to find this game store unless you're like me, like an insane hobbyist who's like, where are all of the game stores in Dallas, Fort Worth, and then drive to all of them.
Find them.
Yeah. So I felt that there was a underserved middle ground of someone who was board game curious, but not enough to Google game store and drive to them.
Yeah.
And so I felt like if I can get into a Bishop Arts, I can serve that because that's where they are. They're in Bishop Arts. They're shopping for records. They're shopping for books. And that person is like, oh, I've played some games before. It's fun. Yeah. And if I can be that person to be like, here are cool games. And they go, oh, yeah, okay, cool. And like I can hit that consumer group that has historically been underserved. So compared to other game stores, that's what I sell more of, right? And I'm in Oak Cliff, but it's really because I'm in Bishop Arts.
It totally makes sense. It's like the people that are going to be most likely to order, get that game and then be like, oh, I'm coming back, and can kind of get hooked back in. But they're not maybe the people that are like, super obsessed with games already. They're wandering around Bishop Arts and, like you said, maybe interested in books or some other sort of tactile
I hope
things.
that I'm creating hobbyists.
Yeah, exactly.
I've seen this happen. I've like sort of created insane hobbyists who end up driving to all the other game stores in town, which is great.
You've created a community, or you're kind of you're putting that out there. Obviously,
I don't want to be
retail
like
spot.
I've created the best community. I don't know. I just like I'm selling games. It's not like that big of a deal.
No, but you're saying it's important. You're putting it out there, and people are coming and responding to that.
Yeah, people are definitely responding, and I think that's been really great. We're about to celebrate our 4th year. And
congrats, man. That's awesome.
Which is great. Yeah, and so it's been a really great journey, and everyone's responded really positively. And it's like I mean, I don't know. I also feel like I'm getting away with a lot of stuff because I'm just like the quaint neighborhood board game shop. And like, does it smell like cigars because I share a wall with the cigar store? Yeah, it does a little bit, but like, it's fine. You know, am I a little late to open up on Tuesday? Yeah, but like, it's fine.
It's neighborhood.
So like, I feel like I get away with a lot of stuff just because it's like, the stakes are very low in my business.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But also, so I don't want to self-aggrandize too much and be like, I'm serving the community and all this stuff. Like, I am a little bit, but like, not really. Not in the ways that
you're selling board games.
I'm selling board games. Yeah, it's pretty low stakes.
Yeah.
Anyways.
How's being in Bishop Arts? Have you found kind of like, I know you're part of the Merchants Association there too, and so I feel like this group's kind of organizing more. How has kind of the different stores and people been welcoming or kind of working together with you?
I don't know. There's a lot of, where should I even start?
Yeah,
I mean, it's really fun to be in Bishop Arts surrounded by a bunch of other small business owners who also pretty much live in the neighborhood.
Yeah.
It's just like so gratifying. It's so rewarding to meet people. I mean, you guys obviously experience this probably every day, but it's so nice to see other shop owners at the local coffee shop, right? And like, hey, look at us.
Yeah.
We're getting our morning coffee before we head into the shop. You know what I mean? Or talking to the other shop owner and be like, oh, well, this, that, and that. And then, oh, yeah, you know, oh, I live down the street. Yeah, I live down the street too. It's just really so fun to be in that environment because everyone has similar incentives. We all love the neighborhood. We all live here pretty much, right? We all own shops here. So we're all aligned in what we want and what we're doing. And I love that there's a bookshop in Bishop Arts, and they love that there's a board game shop, and we all love that there's cool restaurants, and it's all very
there's a community.
It's the rising tide, and we are all the boats. You know, and so yes, everyone is really friendly, and I made a point when I first opened to like go meet everybody. I was like very, very consciously. Networking sounds so
just trying
scummy.
to connect with your neighbors.
Yeah, I would literally
these
go
are the
get a
people
coffee.
I'm going to be next to.
Yeah, I'd go get a coffee, and I would just walk into shops, and I'd be like, "Hey, I'm your new neighbor. Like,
you're
what's
putting
up?
your
Here's
roots
a coffee."
down.
Yeah, a little bit like, "What's up?" Like, my name's Steven. Like, what's going? And half of the time, I'm meeting the owner.
Yes,
you know what I mean? It's like the owner working the counter, just like me.
Today's show is brought to you by Oak Cliff Brewing Co. Oak Cliff Brewing Co. has been with us since the very beginning. It's a brewery here in the heart of Oak Cliff, and it's got amazing programming for the summer. What's some of the stuff going on? Yeah,
they've got some fun weekly programming. Tuesday night trivia is a hit over there. Every single Tuesday, you can go play trivia. Either pub trivia, sometimes there's a theme. They also have Loteria and Bingo night, so that's every Thursday night.
Yeah, so they've got some amazing beers this summer. They just released a Mango Rodeo. It's a Mango Saison. We've got some other Imperial Stouts and a crispy cold IPA that's coming out too, and so a lot of really fun beers. I think the craziest one's the cherry limeade.
They have been teasing out the cherry limeade Paletta.
Yeah,
so that is based on the Paletta cart series that they've got going on down there. So lots of good beers. They're a great place to pick up a 6-pack. And, you know, when you've got a fun weekend planned or holiday or something, great place to go visit.
And host events. They told us too, just the amount of inquiries they're getting and stuff. They want to host more events. And so there's a tap room open, production area is good to go. And if people have events they want to host, semi-private, private, whatever, reach out.
So it's oakcliffbrewing.com or oakcliffbeer.com, and you can learn more about Oak Cliff Brewing Co. Stop by any day of the week. They're open 7 days a week. Thanks, Oak Cliff Brewing Co.
Well, and Bishop Arts is, and I think it's still the case, but there's not really any big franchises or different groups. It's a lot of local shops. And so, like you're saying, you're probably meeting the owner when you're walking into a lot of these shops.
Obviously,
not all
it
the time,
depends on when you walk in, right?
Not all the time. No,
not all the time. But it's really, and also, I mean, I experience that too, when people, just consumers come to the shop, and we're talking, and they kind of look at me like, is this yours? Is this your shop? You seem like too knowledgeable to just be a random person. Is this your shop? And I'm like, yeah. And it's like Saturday night. Yeah. And they're like, and they're blown away.
Yeah.
And they're like, what? That's
you created this?
Cool.
Yeah.
You're just the owner working here at your own shop? I'm like, where else would I be? Like,
it's a great feature of small business that it is so often the owner or one of the owners that is there all the time. They're
passionate about it, and it comes across. Yeah.
And it is cool because then you become known as, The
I'm
guy
board
who
game
owns.
guy.
You're the
I
board game
respond to
guy.
the board game guy.
Right,
If
right.
you holler at me on the street, I will turn around.
Which is great.
What was AJ calling us? The Wax Brothers? This doesn't work.
The Wax Bros.
I did refer to you guys just now as
Oh,
the
God.
Wax Space Bros.
Oh, God.
I knew one of the guys out in the Wax Space.
Oh,
His
yeah.
dad at Cliff Temple.
Oh,
and,
nice.
Matthew.
Yeah,
and,
Matthew. Yeah,
and
he's
I was
great.
Like, I was like, oh man, I gotta run. I got an interview with the Wax Space boys.
Oh, God.
It is. It's a fun element of that whole
sure.
environment. It does also mean that like the owner is there all the time. Pretty
Yeah.
much.
Yeah.
And that's
Yeah, we're
that's the harder part, right?
Yeah,
But,
so it's
um,
been really rewarding and gratifying being a Bishop Birds.
Yeah.
I'm surrounded by those types of people.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So, for people that might be listening who are intrigued,
They are listening.
They are
The
listening.
people who are definitely
Oh,
listening.
yeah,
great!
they're
See?
listening.
Might
We've
be
got a few
listening.
listeners out
Sell
there.
yourself,
That's good.
my guy.
All right, let's go. You've piqued their interest in board games, in board game culture,
Yep.
but they're intimidated. They don't know where to start.
Come see me.
Okay.
That's
That's
come
it.
see me on any given Sunday, as they say.
Nice.
Actually, don't come. I'm not there on Sundays.
Okay.
Don't come on Sunday. Actually, you can. My Sunday guy's great. Don't
Yeah,
don't
yeah,
not go.
yeah.
It is a funny like repercussion of being so forward as the owner is.
Yeah.
My employees. It's sad, but like people come in, they're like, "Is Steven here?"
Yeah,
And they're like, "No, he's like taking his one day off or whatever." And they're like, "Okay," and I'm like, "He's great. My Sunday guy, Riley.
He's
great.
awesome.
He's
Yeah.
great. He knows
Yeah, yeah,
plenty
He can
about
help
games.
you.
He can
Yeah.
help you."
Yeah.
So yeah, come see me at the shop. Tell me what you want. Tell me what you want. What you really, really want.
Come on.
Yeah, and they will just talk. I mean, that's literally all I do all day. Is
Yeah.
people come in and go, and it's funny because they say I'm intimidated by this, and I laugh because my shop is tiny. It's minuscule
Okay.
compared to most game stores because they're huge, massive, 5,000 square feet plus endeavors, board games, and play space. And there's plenty of small little like card shops. Like who just do cards, right? You've probably seen them.
Yeah, for sure.
And, but to be a board game store, you really you need space. They're
need
big, they're
space,
bulky
yeah.
products, so you need a lot of space. And so I laugh. I'm like, this is so unbelievably curated. It's so tiny. There's no space in here, and people are like, is this every board game that's ever been made? Basically, that's what they think.
Yeah.
And I'm like, no, actually, it's not even
one-tenth.
remotely
Yeah,
close.
yeah.
But it's still
It
still
can feel that way, though.
intimidating.
Yeah.
And so I think this is the least intimidating game store probably could be. But like they go, oh my god, it's too much. And I walk them through. I'm like, do you see right there? It's Uno. You know Uno. I don't do that. I do that in my head because it's funny. And they go, I do know Uno.
I have played
and it's
Uno.
so fun.
I'm at home
It
here.
cracks me up because there's plenty of games that everybody knows, but they look like this.
Yeah.
They see the whole story and they go, oh my
Oh,
god.
so much is going on.
And I'm
Yeah,
like, have you played this game? They go, oh yeah, I played that game. Great.
And
Have you
it's
played that
fun.
game? They go,
Yeah.
I played that game.
Yeah.
I'm like, look
It's
at
great.
you.
Yeah.
You're a
Doing it.
gamer. You're doing it
you
right
play
now.
games. Yeah.
It's like, and I do that. Sorry, I'm on a tangent, but
Go, yeah. You're good.
this is just like customer stories.
Yeah. Yeah.
These are the best.
People come in and they go and they say, I want a game. Like I'm intimidated. I want to get into games. You feed my interest. What do I do? And I say, well, what have you played before that you liked? In the same way that a bookseller might say, what books have you read? Seems like a natural question. They just go, oh, nothing. And I'm like, no, man. Like, you've played something. Like, give me something. They go, no, I don't really play games like that. Not really. And they hear me say, what cool hobby games have you played? That's probably what they hear me say. And I mean,
see.
literally anything. And I say, what did you grow up playing? Yeah. And they go, oh, well, we played, the classics. I'm like, which classics? Like, say a name.
Yeah.
And they go, and then I'll stop. And I said, did you play just decks of cards? And they go, oh, yeah. I'm like, great. Those are games. Like, tell me which one.
there.
Did you play Hearts or Spades? And they go, I love spades.
Yeah,
and I'm like, great. That's a game. That's a genre of game that we call trick taking. If you've ever heard the phrase, it's a trick taking. It's a style of game. There's so many trick taking games. There's like a lot of modern trick taking games, right? That instead of using just a standard bicycle deck of cards, it's like a cool, unique deck that they designed. But it's just like you're playing numbers. You have a trump suit, right? You win the hand. It's just trick taking. You've already learned half of it, and they go, oh my god. And so my job is to create familiarity with somebody who thinks that this is a separate world that I can't penetrate. And I'm like, no. Listen, you've already walked through the door. You're in the foyer. Yeah. Like, you just need to, take my hand. Like, come with me.
Really
and let me, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's trying to talk, to some level, I'm trying to tell you, like, you don't need to feel so intimidated. And, like, that's some level of, like, your eyes are getting really big. And, like, just let's look at this shelf right here. There's Codenames. You've played Codenames before. And they go, I have played Codenames. It's a fun little game. I like that game.
Yeah.
I go, yeah, great. And so if I've piqued your interest and you want to get into board games, just come see me. And bring bring some memory of a game that you've played. You know,
That we can work off
that we
of.
can work off
Yeah,
of. But I'd
yeah,
also tell
yeah.
me how many players, and this is sort of the big challenge. of board
Oh,
games
interesting. Yeah,
compared
you
to-
need to know how many players.
Yeah,
are gonna be
this
in
is
the game.
always why board games will sort of be the little brother of books and records. There's a whole other friction point of interacting with the product outside of books or records. Anybody can pick up a book and read it, right? It doesn't require any other stipulation. Board games is not like that. If we wanted to play a 2-player game and then you said, "Oh, I'm going to come over," it changes what we might play. There are games that are designed only for 2 players.
Yeah.
Think about chess. Chess is just a 2-player game, and there's variants, so you can do more. But it's really intended to be a 2-player game. And so if he's coming over, we got to go, "Oh, well, we can't play chess anymore. We got to have a 3-player game."
Now we're
and
playing
so when
Chinese chess.
Right,
Wow.
right, yeah. It's a whole separate consideration, and so that creates a lot of friction in our products, and a lot of people don't think about that. And so I'll say, "Well, how many players are you gonna play with?" And they go, "Well, I don't know." I'm like, "Well, it'd be
It's a
work-
complication. I
Yes.
see what you're saying. Like, it's not just like, oh, here's a book, great.
Yes, I know how to
there's
read,
yeah.
and all I need to know is
That's really
the setting of the
interesting.
book.
Yeah.
When I
Yeah.
know how to listen to music. I can just buy the record if I'm
So
interested.
that question is really helpful because it's like, all right, you kind of come in. It's helpful to you
Mm-hmm.
to know like how many people or what kind of games have you played like that were interesting
Mm-hmm.
to you, and you can kind of almost get that curation or help.
Yeah, well,
when
I mean,
coming
and
to
I
the
tell
store.
people, I when I first did this, when I first started kind of
Yeah.
getting used to doing this, the questions I think would intimidate people because they were already intimidated. And I'd say, "Well, how many players? What games have you played?" And they go, I don't know.
Right, right.
And I'd be like, "Stop.
Yeah.
No, I can see them
You can see
retreating."
it. Yeah.
And I'd have to stop and say, "There's a game here for you.
Yeah.
I'm gonna help you find it."
Yeah.
But I laugh and say, "I can go from scratch. I can, but it's just way more helpful if you give me a little bit." You know what I mean?
yeah.
And they go, "Okay." Like, and some people just say, "Go from scratch."
Oh wow.
And they'll say, "I don't just go from scratch." And I say, "Okay, great. I'll just give you some generically good recommendations."
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's
Oh.
fine. But it's helpful.
To have a little
It's helpful
something to
just
work
a little
with.
bit. Just a little bit.
Well, Stephen, I know you got to get going soon, but you told us a little bit before the show you're opening up another space in
Yes.
August. Can you share any more on that? or-
Yeah. It starts August 1st.
Okay.
We're opening up in the farmers market, Dallas.
No way.
Downtown Dallas
Okay.
farmers market.
Cool.
It's smaller than our existing store, which
Wow.
is hilarious,
Yeah.
honestly. But it's this tiny little. It's where the Dallas Olive Oil Company is now. If
Okay.
you've ever been down there, it's one of the. I've been confusing people because everyone thinks I'm doing like a weekend pop up at the actual farmers market.
Yeah. But it's
I
one of the
realize
retail
that.
spaces.
It's one of the retail
around-
spaces, the
Nice.
permanent retail
Okay.
spaces. We'll be open every day, full time. So yeah, I'm really excited about it. We've been wanting to grow and do more spots
Yeah.
for a while. It's just one of those things that's like on the vision board.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
you're like, let's do
Yeah.
that.
House rules too.
Let's
Yeah,
do
yeah,
that
yeah,
for sure. And you kind of talk to people about spaces, and this opportunity just came up really quickly, and they called us actually, and they were like, "Hey, we want you in the farmers market."
That's
Wow,
awesome, man.
that's
We
cool.
That's a good thing to be wanted.
It's fun.
Too,
They're
like
like, "We
that.
don't have your product mix, basically. Like
yeah.
we have a lot of plants and candles and
Yep.
home goods,
Yeah.
but like."
We need this.
We want.
Yeah.
We're trying to curate our shops, and
Cool.
we are interested in your product mix. And you're in Bishop Arts, and
Yeah.
there's some level of crossover between Bishop
Sure,
Arts. And
I
the
could see
Farmers
that.
Market.
Yeah.
Bullzerk is there, and the coffee shop, the Italian coffee shop, Palmieri, is also in
Oh,
both.
yeah.
Oh, okay.
And so I think they were just sort of looking around Bishop Arts,
Yeah.
who is successful in a high traffic small space
Yeah.
basically, and with a product mix that we don't have, and they picked me.
That's
and so
awesome.
and they were like, "Here's the deal. What do you think?" And I was like, "Yeah, let's freaking
Done and done.
done and
Let's
done.
go.
Let's do it." I mean,
Cool.
it all materialized in like 2 weeks. It was crazy.
Wow, that's awesome.
House
Yeah.
rules too. Okay.
House rules too.
Let's
Farmers
go.
market, and it's funny
Coming
too.
to you
because-
August 1st.
Yeah, well, also I've been making this joke recently too. Like my regular customers who like are now into hobby games.
Yeah.
They're like, "Oh, it's so exciting! Congratulations!" And I laugh. I'm like, "Yeah, you don't really need to go. Honestly,
You're like, "Just come
it's
here."
gonna be smaller than Bishop Arts,
Yeah.
and we'll have less selection. So like, you
They
don't
just,
really."
They just want to support you, man.
Yeah,
I know,
I
know,
said,
know.
I was like, if
Yeah.
you're in the farmers market, come say hey and buy something. But like, pretty much we'll be servicing the tourists
Yeah.
of the farmers market or
Yeah.
like the locals
Yeah.
if that makes more sense for you. But it will literally be smaller and we'll have less stuff. So
Okay.
I'm like, you don't need to go.
There we go. There we go.
You can keep coming here. It's fine. So, but I am really excited. It's going to be a good thing, I think.
I love it.
Yep.
Last
Awesome.
question for me.
Okay.
Do you have a favorite house rule
Oh.
in either a board game or just in life in
Wow.
general?
I've never been asked this.
Nice, Grant.
Wow.
Yeah.
Do I have a favorite house? You know, it's funny because I'm such a rules guy.
Yeah.
that I'm like, we don't really do house rules, actually. That's the funny part.
Oh, yeah, you follow the actual rules.
Well, I
yeah.
read the rule book. And if we have a question, we stop and like get the rulebook out.
Yeah.
Like, and it's not in the rulebook. Look up the forum, and there's a website called Board Game Geek, which is like the IMDb of board games. And often the world is small enough that the designers are in these forums, and there will literally be questions on the game's page of like, there's a rules discrepancy, there's this corner case, and the designer will literally chime in on a comment and be like, oh, do this, and we will sit.
Wait, that's awesome.
We will not continue the game. We will sit there and be like, well, the designer actually said that you should do, and that's what we're doing.
Huh.
And so actually,
that's kind of amazing.
And,
it's like part of the canon almost.
Yeah,
like,
it is. It literally is.
Like,
And it becomes actually, you just need to know that in this one BGG forum, this one time, the designer actually said that this power works like this. And it's so nerdy. It's
awesome.
It's so nerdy. But that's what we do. And so we really almost never, we will sit there and legislate until we have a canonized answer.
I love it. That's
you know what I mean? So my favorite, we do house rules for like first player stuff, just like fun stuff. Like we'll try and do a first player like theme to the game, where it's like if it was pergola, right? It's like, well, who's the last person to like plant something? You go first.
Oh, okay.
You know, something like that. Just goofy fun stuff that doesn't really matter. If it's the first player is to be determined randomly, but actually, let me just geek out a little bit. Some games are balanced such that there is different advantages for first and last player. So you really need to pick it. You have to set it all up, and be wary.
Okay.
Don't just
Pick your
dole out first player.
Yeah,
You know
pick
what
your
I mean?
pick your spot wisely.
So I don't know if I have a fab. Sorry to disappoint, but I don't.
Those are good answers.
I'm really actually not a stickler for the rules, to be honest.
Consult the rules. That's a good house
It's
rule.
not how I am in my life, but in board games, I'm like, we're playing by the rules. My life, I'm like, we'll fudge it a little bit. It's fine.
That's awesome.
love
Steven,
it.
thanks for being on, man.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
I'm a fan of the show. So.
Man, thanks for
Yeah,
listening.
it's
Thanks
fun
for
to
being
be
a part
here.
of it, man.
Yeah.
We'll see you soon.
Hey, thanks for tuning in to this episode of The Hidden City. We hope you discovered something about Oak Cliff that you didn't know. If you enjoyed the show, I hope you subscribe to it on YouTube and then follow us on any of the podcasting platforms. Also, if you enjoyed it, please share with a friend. And thanks so much for tuning in.